What hat is that? Is that Marlins hat? Is that a Miami University hat?
Mexico, dog.
Of course. You're Mexican.
I want to say this was their hat for the baseball classic a while back.
For Mexico. For America.
Huh?
For America?
For Mexico. No, this is the Mexico hat.
Gotcha.
Team Mexico, bro. Hashtag.
Team Mexico.
Hashtag. Team half Mexican. Take a shot. Said half Mexican. Kevin. Where's Kevin been? He hasn't been in our shows lately. I feel like he's trying to better himself. I don't
and
like
we don't support it, Kevin.
No.
Stop.
Come back to the show. Drink.
Drink heavily.
Get drunk on a Tuesday night.
So what else are Tuesday nights for?
All right, Keith.
Yeah. How about it?
How about it? Talking about a classic.
Yes, we are. We are. We open every episode. I feel like I just want to say I'm excited because I love movies and I'm excited to talk about movies, especially movies that I find very funny. The end.
Such as?
Oh, such as Beverly Hills Cop, the original.
I just got off the phone with an Inspector Todd in Detroit. He says if you're out here investigating the Tandino murder, you needn't bother coming back.
Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop.
Part 1.
The first one. That should be my new thing, is I just kind of hum the theme songs for all these movies.
It'd be better than really any of the opinions you share, so I'm not totally against it.
I'm only
you just
limited.
gotta just mute yourself and then do the tunes, and I'll just talk about film.
Yeah.
So,
I think most
Beverly
people.
Hills Cop came out in 1984. Stars Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, John Ashton, Ronnie Cox, Bronson Pinchot.
Pinchot. I believe it's Pinchot.
What's the girl's name?
Girl.
The actress?
Come
on.
I don't.
Her character's Jenny. I just looked it up.
Please welcome Lisa Eilbacher.
Didn't have much of a career after this. Maybe we should start there. What happened to Jenny's career?
I don't.
There'll be other films.
I
Lisa.
know.
Don't
I
worry
have
about
another one.
Who got the part? Do you know who got the part?
Ali Sheedy.
Ali Sheedy.
I don't think we should start.
Like
I don't think we should start with Jenny. I feel like there's someone else we should start with.
Let's do an hour. Let's do an hour deep dive on Jenny.
Oh, that's what people showed up for Beverly Hills Cop breakdown for. Jenny, where is she?
Yeah.
What's she up to these days?
Yeah, it was the biggest movie. It was like one of the biggest movies of all time. It was the highest grossing film of '84. It was the third highest grossing R-rated film forever. Like it was a huge hit. Catapulted Jenny into where? Where did she go?
Mediocrity.
She catapulted our boy Eddie Murphy into the stratosphere, and helped make him really one of the 2 or 3 biggest stars of the '80s. And it's fun to look back on.
Of all time, not just the '80s. Eddie Murphy.
Well, sure, of all time because of the '80s.
Sure, but I was looking at his IMDb again a little bit earlier, just to like refresh. The '90s, he had a bunch of hits, as well. Some of his.
Yeah, but they're all bad movies, though. That's the difference.
hey, he stayed with hits. He got those hits.
Yeah.
Nutty
The
Professor?
Nutty Professor was like hugely successful.
Hugely.
And I bet you I couldn't make it through any of those right now.
That is
and I liked it. I liked the first one when it came out. But
that is a different conversation.
yeah. Like,
but he was
Dr.
like
Dolittle.
Still really successful. Yeah, Dr. Dolittle. Shrek was in the 2000s. The guy's 3 decades deep making like, Shrek is.
Look, you don't put me on the team of like ripping on Eddie Murphy because I'm not. But you're not gonna. Doesn't compare to the '80s. The '80s is what made him a superstar. Where it was like Michael Jackson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Eddie Murphy.
Murphy.
Like that.
Yeah.
Those three.
Sounds like you hate Eddie Murphy. Guys, he
Prince,
hates Eddie Murphy.
Madonna. Eddie Murphy's a god. He's like my favorite comedy. He stars in my 2 favorite comedies of all time. He's like my favorite stand-up comedian on the strength of 2 specials of all time.
Take all the pussy. They be, here goes pussy. Here goes pussy for you. Some pussy for you. Pussy. I be saying, thank you. I appreciate it. I like all the pussy. Thank you. Too much pussy. Pussy be falling out my pockets and shit. Walking down the street, I say, oh, excuse, watch your step. That's mine.
He's amazing. He taught me funny.
Good. Now we're give that man some respect. I can't say enough about Eddie.
Love
Murphy.
Eddie. So you have to love this movie. I don't know how someone couldn't like it. Like you maybe don't love it, maybe you don't think it's an all-time great, but you can't not like it. You can't think it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it's I don't know how you can't like it. It's just it's at worst it's enjoyable. Like that's its worst quality. The worst version of this movie, I think, to people is just like, it's enjoyable. I enjoyed it.
What do you think makes Eddie Murphy such a star? What do you think? Because I have some specific traits, but I want to hear from you.
Eddie Murphy is a star, I think, in no particular order. He is, especially in the 80s, looking at that point in time when his fame just exploded, he is charismatic, he is handsome, he is cool, he is witty, he is cunning, he is just the epicenter of cool. Like he is someone you aspire to be. Like you just want to be the most popular guy at school. Like that's just, he does it without trying. It is effortless for him. With someone like, even like Ryan Reynolds, you can see he's trying at times, who I think is pretty cool himself. But sometimes you look at him and you go, oh, he's doing a thing. He's doing a thing. Eddie Murphy is effortless when he is at his best. And that's majority of his career.
Hey, buddy, what you doing here?
Oh, officer, you know what just happened a few minutes ago? You ain't gonna believe this shit. Check this out. The truck, it just stopped, man. It just stopped.
I think maybe that's the best way I can describe it. It exudes from him. It is effortless. He makes it look so simple to do what he does, and what he does is incredibly difficult. Maybe?
Yeah, I agree with that. No, I think that's a good point. I think like he's the class clown, but he's cool, and those 2 things aren't really usually overlapping. Where you're like the coolest guy in school, but you're also the funniest guy in school. Yeah, I was thinking about what is his recipe, and I think that especially for this kind of film, where it's like he's hilariously funny, and he manages to exude like a very, we don't need to like really dwell on this, but a really unique sexual appeal, like a really interesting, like not androgynous, but there's just something to the way that he, like his motions, like you can see why people would find him really attractive, both women and men, at that time. Like you want to be around him. He's relatable while also being believable as in sort of these action physical role. Like it's just a really unique blend of traits where you just like want to hang out with this person and you want to watch them kick ass and you believe they could, but you are not threatened by that. And like, it's all that stuff is just a really one of a kind. I really think his skill set is super one of a kind, and effortlessly cool is a really good way of describing that. Is like his jokes are funny as hell and cool. Like how could you do that? I think normally it's one or the other.
Yeah. He has the ability to switch on a dime, I think, in a way that few people can do. And you see it a lot in this film specifically, but like throughout his career, he'll be serious and then just turn into a bit. He did it in stand up, but in like this film, like he's got, I don't want to say like range is probably not the right way to describe it, but he's just got that ability to slip into something, again, seamlessly, effortlessly.
Yes. I'm looking for Victor Maitland.
And be a character, slip out, and then be just the coolest motherfucker in the room.
I'm back.
Like, that's really hard. Like Robin Williams had the ability to kind of go into bits seamlessly and come out of them seamlessly, but he was never that cool. He was never the
Yeah.
most attractive man in the room at the same time. You know, it's not it's just what he can do. You know, God's gift. Some of it's just God-given talent, but just it's amazing what he can do. He deserves credit for it.
Yeah, that to me is what makes him an all-time great, for sure. I think the fact that this movie, like this is like similarly to the Blues Brothers that we just talked about, but like this is like I loved this movie as a kid. Loved it. Deep cut Ev Duran trivia fact: the first script I ever tried to write in my life was for Beverly Hills Cop 4. I started a script, and when I was 14 years old, on my old Macintosh computer, I still have it on a disc somewhere. I'd love to find it and read it. But I just remember it started with a big shootout in an apartment, and I was like, I'm gonna write this script because I love Eddie Murphy and I love Beverly Hills Cop so much. But like, I just love these kinds of films because it's simple. It's a simple idea, but it does all the things that like a good movie should in terms of like, you know, there's an element of like revenge tale a little bit. There's fish out of water. There's like buddy cop stuff. There's really genuinely funny bits. And then there's like some kind of like fun action, like fun, cool action. And that's like a pretty simple recipe.
And there's some real, like when that guy gets murdered, spoiler alerts in the beginning, like that's real. The guy gets shot in the back of the head at point blank range. Like,
yeah.
There's dramatic moments too, and that's a piece of filmmaking that I think is lost today that I definitely want to discuss, because this film is designated as a comedy.
No, yeah, I think it sounds like you're going to give the dramatic elements a little more credit than I would. So go ahead and make your case.
I'm not giving it more credit in terms of other films. I'm giving this film credit for holding some things honest.
Hey, look, we're talking about a friend of mine here.
For holding some things as grounded. Because I only think about if movies are made today because I live in today and I can't help but get away from it. But movies aren't made the way that they are. Like, I just sound like such an old man shouting at clouds. But back then they made this was designated as a comedy, but the comedy doesn't come from someone fumbling a gun or someone slipping, or fat people falling down, or whatever. There's no banana peels in this film. There just isn't. There's dramatic moments, there's lighthearted moments, there's fun moments, there's action moments, there's everything. And what you said before, they check the boxes of what a film just needs to do. Not A-level stuff, but just like this is what a film has to do to be a film, to live in this medium and to execute this medium well. And that is lost on today, I feel like. And tell me your thoughts on what I'm about to say. I feel like today they have boiled down audiences so small in an attempt to make money, to get a return on their investment. And I'm only speaking on like mainstream blockbuster type films. I'm sure there's art house films or indie films that don't do this to this level. But this is a big budget movie. This is a big deal, these type of action movies, this movie at that point. And if they make it today, it's a big deal. They boil it down so far that it's just talking to one person. It's like we're 13-year-old boys who have iPhones and like skateboards. Like it's just like, this is for this group of people specifically. And everything just gets so watered down because of it. Where back then, they were trying to make a movie, like a movie period that people could generally enjoy. And do you like action movies? Like that's the layer down that it went. Like, do you like some funny stuff? Like action stuff? Well, there's some stuff in there for you. And more people could generally go to it. But now they boil it down so thin that it's just, this movie would suck so much today if it came out, because it would be slapsticky and jokey and PG and goofy.
Yeah, but you're backwards. You're arguing on the wrong side there. Like, you're right about that, but then you're saying that you think it's bad now because it's such a narrow audience. It's the opposite. It's bad now because they're trying to please everyone so that they can make more money, so that it's much more general. That's why when we talk about whatever the last Marvel film we talked about, that fucking Doctor Strange nightmare garbage, They're trying to appeal to everybody. They're trying to appeal to a 40-year-old guy and a 10-year-old girl. And that's why there's slapsticky bullshit in there with like kind of violent horror. Like that's what movies are.
Well, that Marvel
large.
specifically, yes, Marvel specifically.
I think look no further than like the Die Hard series is you could parallel that to this, where it's like a very, isolated action film that's a classic. It's amazing. And then as that goes on up until the last one, which I haven't seen, whichever 5 or 6 years ago, which they were like, the moon's gonna fucking blow up or whatever. Like it's just absurd, stupid, large action instead of just being like a good character-driven film. And we should say, we're gonna find out how bad it is when Beverly Hills Cop 4 starts shooting here in the next year or so.
I forgot
Straight
that
straight
was,
to Netflix.
Is it going straight to Netflix? I pray to God it's good. I pray to God.
You know. You know what's coming. It's Coming to America is coming.
The real projects are clean, man.
Like it's gonna be really colorful and really bland and really digital, and will probably be an exact replication of the first movie. Or they'll go the other direction and it'll be like, the moon is exploding. We have to send Axel Foley to space. Like, it's going to be one of those two things. I think it'll just be a rehash of
the first one.
Yeah. But neither here nor there. We're not pessimistic.
It's so depressing. I love that it's rated R.
Hey, man, don't square off on me with some bullshit. You want to start some static?
Hey, don't push me.
Fuck you, man.
I love that it's rated R so much because it gives it weight. Like, this is such
stakes.
The stakes, yeah. It's absolutely. I know this is such a small example, but not only does it give it weight, I think it grounds it in a sense of reality as well. Again, that moment where the guy blows the guy's head off from point blank range, like you're like, shit, that's a fucking real thing. But this is on a such smaller scale. In the beginning of the movie, when Axel Foley meets Jenny at the art gallery or whatever, and they start just like playful banter or whatever, and he says like, "Oh, you really filled out" or something. She goes, "Fuck you!" Like that level of greeting, like it's just that's how old friends. If I saw you,
that's
first
how
time,
adults talk to each other.
Yeah, that's like, "Oh, fuck you, you're an asshole." Like that's how. It just feels so much more lived in, so much more tangible, so much more authentic. Like, just not this overly processed bullshit, watered down nonsense like Red Notice. There's none of that energy in something like Red Notice when it comes out today. Not to continue to pick on Red Notice, but
I can't help it. I think about Red Notice all the time. I think about Red Notice
sucks.
all the fucking time.
It should have been good. Like it. Ugh.
Yeah. Anytime I watch a movie like this, I think of Red Notice. I did myself as I rewatched Beverly Hills Cop. I was like, fucking Red Notice thinks that they're doing this, and it's really sad. It's really sad.
It's so sad.
But that's what Beverly Hills Cop 4 is gonna be. Netflix. Like that's what it's gonna be.
It can't. I don't want to do it. We'll review it when it comes out. I don't want to do it right now. I can't. I emotionally can't handle it.
Yeah, I can't handle it. I get it.
I can't.
I don't even know where to go. It's like Eddie Murphy's phenomenal and amazing and a one-of-a-kind talent, and we're just getting him at the launch pad of his career.
Yeah.
And then the awesome the boxes that it checks, like the film. It's like that's what works.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, I love the movie. Again, I don't think you can't just like enjoy it, but I love the movie, and I will watch it every time it's on TV. But if I'm going to be a little bit critical, I don't think the movie does anything exceptionally well. Like there are certain things in older films, Blues Brothers, for example, like the cinematography, I think, sings in certain parts of that
Martin
film.
Brest is no John Landis.
Yeah, so
no disrespect.
It does, like the writing doesn't seem overly great. The performances don't seem overly great. I just enjoy Eddie Murphy being Eddie Murphy. But nothing jumps out to me as like what makes this film great. Just nothing's bad. Nothing is even close to being bad.
Nothing is bad at all, and Eddie Murphy is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like this is the definition of like a star-making vehicle. It's like everything's pretty simple. You get a very competent supporting cast, and then you just put your star in there to carry this thing and be the reason why tickets get sold. And that's what it is. And that's not an insult. Like, it's just great for what it is. It's just great for what it is. I think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
I brought up Martin Brest, the director, who was like a thing there for a while, and kind of a sad tale. You know, he did Midnight Run, which was another big movie in the 80s with De Niro and Charles Grodin, and had, you know, Scent of a Woman and a couple others in the 90s. And then he did Gigli. He's the filmmaker behind Gigli, Affleck and J-Lo.
It's turkey time.
Huh?
Gobble, gobble.
Very topical,
you know,
though. Those two lovebirds
back in the
finally
news.
figured it out.
Maybe, is it time to forgive Martin Brest for Gigli?
Gobble, gobble.
He retired, the poor guy. He just gave up film because the reaction to that film was so horrible. And I guess also was very like studio interference, which is all just a recipe for death.
Yeah.
And just like, he's like, fuck this. Like I've had a 20-year, very successful career, 20 or 30 year, made some all-time greats. I'm never fucking doing this again. Like that makes me sad because, you know, it's sad. Like he's for the guy's whole life. You know, he was responsible for some great films, and then he's just like, you know what? I'm out at 55 or whatever because you guys are all dicks.
But I can imagine there's never a point in time where I think anyone feels that they've made it. Like it's easy for us to say in this position because we love to have that kind of resume and be in those positions. But when you get in those positions, you're just in those positions and you're only worried about the things.
Just your life. Yeah.
Like you're just worried about the things you're not getting at that point, or the breaks you didn't get. Like it's a recipe for self-loathing. The business, being a creative, trying to make films, expressing your art or your creative vision. It's like just a recipe for depression. And that's why I love it so much.
Well, especially film. That's why Kevin Smith has a great quote about like filmmakers is just such a unique artistic venture because it requires you getting millions of dollars from somebody else. Like, hey, you give me $100 million so I can make my art. You know, that's tough. There's most other artists don't have anything like that. You know, it is a masochistic pursuit.
It's nuts. So I get it.
I love it. I love the pain.
No.
Sorry.
No, Everett.
It really hurt.
Yeah.
It really hurt.
It looked like it hurt.
It's commitment. You got to commit to the bit, you guys. Lesson 1.
Lesson 1 of comedy. Commit to the bit.
Welcome to my master class. If it doesn't draw blood, it's not funny.
Acting, bro.
You brought up, you know, we talked about all this great stuff about Eddie Murphy, but bringing up the fact that I think part of his relatability, but also like what you want for your own self is his ability to be the smartest guy in the room, to talk his way out of any situation, to be so quick on his feet. I think that's another part of the recipe of this film that makes it so successful that like, I don't know why more movies, especially today, aren't doing that, where you just like fish out of water, but he's the smartest guy and he's super clever and he uses his sense of humor to like get through situations. Like that's gold. Like that will never not work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. But again, I bet you there's big movies today that think they are doing that, like Ryan Reynolds stuff. No disrespect to him, who we like, but it's not quite the same because it's a little more. It's almost too self-aware. Like Eddie Murphy's not like self-aware.
Absolutely not.
It's way more realistic. He's not like not winking at the camera.
Yeah, I love Eddie Murphy in this film when he's not being funny. Like I think he's good when he's not being funny. There's a real sincerity to his performance. It's not the greatest performance. I don't want to get it confused. It just feels like more natural. It feels like organic. It's like this is how this person would really talk. How he carry himself. You know, not that he's giving this great rich performance of it. It just feels authentic in that way. And that's what's great about Eddie Murphy. And in this film specifically.
Yeah. He totally feels totally authentic. Only the one time he doesn't. Only note is anytime he's holding a gun. I don't know, like y'all probably know this, but anytime you see somebody holding a gun like this in a movie, it means they're not a cop. And they got like bad training. Yeah. That was such a thing for such a long time to like go in with your hand, with your gun up like this. No, if you see a real cop doing that, it's a bad cop. Bad cop. Like that's just great. And
how do they do it?
Ready, like you come in like it's out, it's extended, but it's down a little bit. So you walk into the room and you're not pointing it up just in case there's somebody that you don't want to shoot, but it's ready. Like it's quick. So, like that motion is very quick. To do this, and then Eddie has a really funny moment where he comes around the corner and like does these big motions like that. And that is just like so bad Hollywood. Like if you saw a cop doing that, like that cop doesn't know what they're doing. Because imagine like, you're here and you get shot. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just like, oh, like, you know what I mean? It's just not realistic. So that's my one criticism of Eddie Murphy's natural performance.
Yeah. I meant, yeah. I don't think he's a natural cop.
I know you didn't. I know you weren't talking about his physicality.
Yeah.
It's called segue, Keith. I got to work it in when I can. All right, Segue Kings.
Good.
You ever heard of them?
No. My favorite part of this film is Bronson Pinchot. I think he's great in this film. He makes me laugh so much, and their chemistry is really good too. Together, like they work. Really, I want more of that relationship. Like I want more from Bronson because he really does steal the scene a bit when like he's on camera.
Don't run and tell me, Summers, that Mr. Ahmed Foley is here to see.
Axel Foley. Axel.
Axel. Foley is here to see her.
So funny. He's so funny. I love it. It's my favorite, one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part.
Yeah, every time I watch this movie, it's not that I forget that he's coming, but it just happens and he's there and you're like, oh yeah, this, like I love, like, Serge.
I'm fine, my name is Serge.
It's just so, yeah, his accents are so great, you know, like every line he says is golden.
One moment.
He inspired me. Serge inspired me. I've, written a number of screenplays, one of which a couple of them have been made, but one of which that was really close to being made that didn't get made was like this really stupid comedy film. And I wrote in a role that was just a direct ripoff of Serge, and it was going to be played by me. It was going to be like my cameo role in this film, and the name was Freeze. And it was a very effeminate character that worked in like a boutique shop and was like the friend coworker of the main female character. And I was gonna dye my hair like platinum icy white, and I was just gonna wear like Daisy Dukes and be Freeze. And I'm every day so glad that film was not made, because that would have been a role on my IMDb that would not have aged particularly well, I'm sure.
Freeze is a really funny name. It's a funny name. I give it credit.
It's funny because then the guys go like Freeze. That's funny.
It's funny. It's funny.
I'll find the script. I'm sure it's offensive, but I thought it was. It's funny that it was so close. And it's funny rewatching this movie now and remembering how much it inspired me, because I knew I loved Beverly Hills Cop, but then to remember that it's the first script I tried to write, and then I like lifted elements of it for my own other projects. Like this movie was very impactful. Funny to think about how close it was to being a Sylvester Stallone vehicle.
I did not know that.
Yeah, like there was a lot of other stars that it was offered to and started to be built around, but Stallone went the furthest, and I think I read that it was just a couple of weeks before filming that he pulled out and they went in a different direction and went and got Eddie Murphy. But
did they change the script at all? Do you know if they like changed?
Yeah.
It?
Once Stallone got involved, he changed the script to be a straight action film that was like, I think a quote that I read from him is it was going to be like the beginning of Saving Private Ryan.
Freeze, asshole!
Like it was just going to be like this crazy action movie, which I guess then he went on to kind of do in Cobra. Like the story that he made in the film Cobra was going to be a lot like what he wanted to do in Beverly Hills Cop.
Interesting.
So, yeah, funny to imagine that. Harrison Ford was offered it. A bunch of others were offered it before they made it into this Eddie Murphy star-making term.
That's interesting, because I would have thought, like, on paper he does 48 hours, and then you know how studios go, like 40 hours a success, and they go, well, we need to do this exact same thing. We need to put Eddie Murphy as a cop, let him go, let him have fun. Like, let's build a vehicle around that. I would have thought it was tailored for him the whole time, but clearly, what do I know?
Yeah, no, it bounced around, I guess, for quite a while with a lot of different people involved. So it became the best version of what it could be, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Have to talk about the supporting people other than Serge. We mentioned some of their names earlier. I think the two buddy cops, the Reinhold and John Ashton, are great. I think both those guys are great. I love Eddie Murphy's dynamic with them. I think it's fun to see a young Jonathan Banks, who's the bad guy's kind of right-hand man. He pops up later in Breaking Bad very memorably, and
he's in a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Just like great familiar 80s faces everywhere. Ronnie Cox is in every 80s movie ever. just fun. And then let's talk about Jenny, the reason you're all here. Weird. It's weird that she didn't become I don't think she's so great. No, like her performance is, kind of what it is. So I understand, like, it's not like, oh, this woman, she set the world on fire. But like, you star in the biggest movie of the year, you're the lead, and then this all ties into other subjects. Because I was thinking, like, how come she didn't get bigger roles, right? She kind of fizzles after this. She had, one or two. And you're in the biggest movie of the year, you're alongside Eddie Murphy. Seems like you should get a couple big roles. But then I thought, have you, this is a weird anti-segment. I talked about Kevin Hart for 30 minutes, so go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually talking about the film that we're here to talk about. Have you heard about the Axel Foley is gay theories?
No.
Okay. So you can find those theories online, and there's a lot of breakdowns of why people think that. And one of the reasons is that his relationship with Jenny is not romantic at all. And there's one scene specifically in the middle where they go back to his hotel room when he first orders the food out to the cops.
Yeah.
And she lays down on the bed and kind of throws a little seductive look. She's batting her eyes a little bit. She's doing a little sexy thing. And Eddie Murphy's just like, let's call a room service prank, and doesn't pay any romantic attention to her at all. And then that's never even referenced again. It's for the people who believe that he might be a gay character, they look at that scene as kind of Exhibit A.
Sure.
As that's the scene in the action movie where they hook up, especially in the 80s. So there's other theories, other things to support that theory.
No. It's because I love you, man.
The other part, sorry, it's all over the place. Stallone, as the original star, in that original version, Jenny was the love interest. But then there's a lot of talk about not wanting to have a black and a white lead, black man, white woman, romantically on the screen, even in 84.
That's what I was going to say. That's probably why. It's not that he's gay. It's just a studio decision.
I know. For sure. Sorry. But now because of that racism, no, you're exactly right. Because of that, then it does make it seem a little weird. How come, normally, traditionally, in a movie like this, she would be the romantic interest of which there is not really one. But all of that to circle back to the point of why didn't she become a bigger star? And I wonder if it's because they weren't romantically an item in this film. And she just was kind of looked at as this platonic character. You know what I mean? And not that this is right, not that this is the way people should have looked at her, but it's sure, you were the co-star, you were the female lead in this huge film, but you weren't sexy. You weren't sexualized in this role. So then the doors aren't as open as they would have been if she was Sharon Stone and they really leaned into her sexuality with the lead. I don't know. Maybe it's a domino thing.
Maybe. Knowing, especially I'm sure in the 80s, how probably shallow, let's just say, the studio opinion may have been, get us a sexy leading woman, and if you're viewed as just the buddy, you could have been Danny DeVito.
Now that's a movie.
So maybe, sure. Sure. If you told me that's exactly what happened, I'd say, okay, I believe you.
What's your favorite parts? What's your best bit? What's the best, funniest part?
I mean, Serge is my fan. I laugh every time he does that whole bit when he talks about the chest hair.
Donnie, this is covered soft. It's the breast of a dog to scrub for the customer. It's not sexy, it's animal.
No, it's not sexy at all.
This is a really important piece. He's saying get the fuck out. He's like, no, I cannot, because it's a very important piece.
He's so
$130,000. Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. It's serious because it's very important piece.
He's so believable. I I don't understand why he and Jenny were not bigger stars. I mean, Bronson had one of the biggest shows, not of all time, but at least of that era, of that 80s, late 80s, early 90s, in Perfect Strangers. So obviously he had his moment and his star shine, but I just think he was really talented. I thought he was just really, really talented. I think I saw somewhere that he did a movie, he was in a movie with Tom Cruise. I forget what movie that was, but Tom Cruise said, don't do TV. You're a movie star, you have the talent, don't do TV, you will die in TV. And he did it anyway. He went on to do Perfect Strangers, obviously, and Tom Cruise was right. But I think he says he would not trade the experience, obviously. But Tom Cruise had him pegged as a movie star, and he said, no, I'll do TV, and ruined his film career.
Yeah, interesting how that was that way back then. It's really hilarious, too, that character, just because like his accent is so all over the map. Like, where would you say he's from?
It doesn't matter.
You know?
He's just foreign.
Like but that's what makes it so funny. It's like, what, Eastern Europe someplace? Like, it's just like this weird, nondescript, very all over the place accent, but it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, love it.
My favorite part, I think, might be Eddie Murphy checking into the hotel.
I was gonna say that's my other favorite part, is him checking into the hotel.
That's top level.
I was gonna call the article, Michael Jackson is sitting on top of the world, but now I think I might as well just call it, Michael Jackson can sit on top of the world just as long as he doesn't sit in the Beverly Palm Hotel, because there's no niggas allowed in there.
Excuse me, sir.
You wish you could be like that. You wish you could walk into the nicest hotel and just talk your way into a suite.
Yeah.
Because you're that clever. And his lines are just so funny.
Yeah, the intelligence and the confidence that one must have to go into that establishment and persuade them so confidently is like you wish you admire him, but you wish you could be that cool. Yeah. You know?
All of your protagonists should be like this in a movie like this. Like
I feel like they've gotten away from it.
To your long-winded Kevin Hart point, that's what you should be doing.
100%, but I feel like, again, Ryan Reynolds is the only person who comes to mind who would play such a role where they're just debonair. They're confident, they're suave, they're charming, and their ability to manipulate situations in a fun, funny, clever, outlandish way is the thing that we're all laughing at and enjoying. It's fun and funny, but it's fun. Like, can you name another actor or another role in recent history that like embodies that?
Not off the top of my head, no. I'd have to think about it. But yeah, I agree. But I'm sure there's other, like, because as we've talked about to death probably, Ryan Reynolds being so self-aware, just his nature is like self-referential, even when he's not intentionally breaking the fourth wall. Like it's like his attitude is, like behind his eyes he is. So like, but I'm sure there's a ton of really talented actors that could do that. It's just the people aren't trying. I don't know. You know, like even some like Kristen Wiig, like there's people that can do that, I'm sure, but they just aren't. Like maybe those kind of films just aren't being made.
Yeah, I would just wonder why those films aren't being made. Like a funny
James...
are,
and they star Ryan Reynolds. That's probably the answer, honestly. Like that's really what it is. Ryan Reynolds has been in a shit ton of films lately.
That are like that. That are kind of like
action-y films where
like the Adam Project. Like the Adam Project is kind of like that. He doesn't get into like charming situations. But that's kind of what his character's like. Not that self-aware.
Fucking Adam Project. That movie is fucking bonkers. We should talk about that at some point. That movie was so nuts. I couldn't, like, I couldn't. I spasmed off of the couch at a point.
It gets super nuts. It gets...
Top level CGI use in that one. Definitely should have been like, yep, this fucking de-aging of... What's her name? Catherine. I don't even know. I just died inside. You said the Adam Project, and my whole fucking brain just melted out of my body. It was like, Bruh. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, or even if you didn't, consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing, getting alerts, looking us up on OnlyFans, you know, whatever floats your boat. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.